Okay, here we are. Took me a while. Hey guys, good to see you. Hope everyone's doing all right. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one right into the breakout. But we'll talk about what I mean with the title and everything. But yeah, there's going to be some stuff to talk about. Hi Duck. Hey. Need to change the title now, Don? Nah. I'll explain why the title is as it is. I mean, we were breaking out when I made the title. Breaks resistance, right? Nope. I mean, maybe in 5 hours, right? So we'll talk about it in a second. Before I start, big shout out to Blockfolio. They're the sponsor of the show. Really appreciate their support. I mean, everyone knows them basically from back in the day as a portfolio tracking app, right? You can buy and sell there now too, which is pretty neat. I think it's actually really nice for people that are not super plugged into what's into all of the exchanges, and even for those that are, I think it's pretty nice. I've really enjoyed using it. Doing this for like 4 years, people think you can't tell the difference between support and resistance. Yeah. The reason why the title is Bitcoin breaks support is because, I mean, it broke support yesterday or the day before, both days. And we're now rallying back into resistance. Now, I mean, I know that the rates have been, I mean, it's been bullish on traditional markets. You can kind of see what happened here, right? And Bitcoin responded in kind. That doesn't have to mean much. It's just the typical kind of decorrelated, right? The typical correlation. So we've had that before. I mean, it's pretty much been the case for the entirety of the run, with Bitcoin just wildly outperforming. But still, looking at the daily chart, we are at resistance, right? I want it to break and turn it back into support, right? But we are rallying into resistance and we broke support, right? So that's why the title is how it is. So technically speaking, my system is telling me like this would be the short to take. I mean, I can't short right now, and I'm not sure if I would want to short this kind of bull market, but my system is telling me to. So yeah, whenever I get that, when I don't want to short, and then my system tells me to short, that's usually when I kind of de-risk. So we'll see how this turns out, but that's kind of where my head's at. DXY dump, yeah, I mean it's I don't know how you pronounce him in English. Powell, I'm speaking right now, so it's not surprising really, but yeah. Powell talks too much. He should just step up and say, it's all good, boys, go buy corn. Yeah, I mean, that's basically what's happening. And that's where this rally is coming from. Which hasn't, like a lot of people want to fade this kind of stuff. You don't have to. It's a bull market, right? So there's very little reason to. All markets pumping. Nasdaq will have bull diff on 4 hour and has on hourly. Yeah, I think this is just news related more than anything. Both on Bitcoin and the SPX and on everything else. I mean, every market is going up, and dollar is going down, which makes sense. We are seeing normal dawn now. What's the normal dawn and what's the not normal dawn? Please explain. But yeah, generally speaking, high time frame wise, we're trading at, I mean, it's kind of shitty support, but it is support nonetheless. We're trading at weekly support, right? That's going to be interesting towards the weekly close. Monthly, there's nothing to talk about there. It's just straight up, right? So this could do anything on the monthly. It's not really helping you. So, I mean, just ignoring it makes sense, in my opinion. And then you have the weekly, like I said, at support-ish. If we break that down, I think we go for the support next. If we don't, I think we just keep on rallying. And I think, I mean, given how this has been trending, it makes sense to just keep going. As weird as that sounds, just based on the fact that the trend's just been super strong and no one's gotten a dip yet. Once it starts dipping, it's going to dip hard. But, I mean, it doesn't really make much sense to bet on it before you get technical confirmation. and that's nowhere to be seen on the weekly. On the daily, it kind of looks meh to me, but given the high time frame trends, it makes sense to be like, you don't have to kind of chase the bearish setups even when they're as nice looking at this one as this one, because yeah, it's been bear setups have not been playing out well, and for me this is one, right? So normally speaking, I would short it, but given how the market's been trading, I don't feel like it, and I can't do it anyway. Bring back abnormal done, to be honest. I still don't know which one is which. I know you don't look at RSI divergences, but anything to say about weekly bearish divergence? I mean, there could be one. I mean, is there one? I'd be surprised if there was one. RSI. Oh, there's actually one. Somewhat. I mean, not really. I mean, kinda. I don't know. I don't like it too much. You could look at the 3-day. That would be much clearer, and that's a clear one. Like, you don't need to use the weekly. Like, if you use like RSI or whatever, that's a clearly bearish divergence. For the people that don't know how these things work, when price makes a high and RSI makes a low, you have a divergence there, and then the opposite is true as well. There's hidden ones, and the bullish ones are the ones below price and below RSI generally, and the bearish ones are above, right? So, but still, like, you've had a bearish divergence from here to here, basically. So, I mean, whatever. If you've been trading these, I mean, you've gotten wrecked more than anything. Yesterday's newsletter, go read it after stream. Cred's already back at it. Love it. Abnormal Don would live trade a short 20x leverage, to be honest. Nah, I mean, maybe back in the day, but like I said, I can't. I don't want to get wrecked by the German tax system, whatever. So they've gone and cut off my balls, is what they've done. Okay, but yeah, that's Bitcoin, I think. I mean, there's not much to say there. 3-day, I mean, that's pretty nice support. It's the same as the weekly, right? You have support here. Weekly time frame, we have support, and then daily, it kind of looks like a bearish retest to me. But it's bullish news, and it's a bullish market, so take that for what it's worth. So I'm not entirely sure this is going to play out. My system, however, is saying do take it, and yeah, it is what it is. ETH, same kind of situation basically. This is rallying into resistance, and here again as well. This hasn't really, like, ETH's been kind of shit, not gonna lie. Like, you've seen the Bitcoin candle, right? And then you look at the ETH candle, and this is what you get on both pairs. Like, ETH BTC is just going down whenever Bitcoin moves up, and then it's trying really hard to move away from this green box, which is, for me, the last line of defense. And it's not managing to do so. And that's really concerning. So for altcoins, they're in trouble. I don't know where Bitcoin is going to go necessarily. But looking at this, I'd be surprised if the majors are going to do well, just based on the fact how weak ETH looks. Now, that could change if we rally off of this into like 0.038. If we kind of close back above there, very likely to go up in general. But until then, I'd be more on the neutral to bearish leaning side. Because, I mean, this is just, the support's been tested a billion times. Even if we rally into this resistance, you have this kind of ugly looking thing on hand. So it's looking rough. And I want to see it invalidate that by closing back above 0.038. And if it can't, I would expect it to go to next support, and that's quite a bit away. So ETH BTC looking rough, and because of this looking rough, ETH USD has just kind of been underperforming, right? You can kind of see it here. It's retested the all-time high, Bitcoin never did, and it's still up a shitload, and that is pretty nice in itself, but as long as it's not outperforming Bitcoin, you're just taking on more risk for less reward. When you use Stimmy, I have no idea. I wouldn't get it anyway. Scam. Need to make the support darker green. Yeah, there's something that we've discussed on the weekly open show. I made this already like much greener than it usually is. I don't think I can make it any greener. It's not gonna work. ETH BTC is psyops. I mean, it's been pretty good. Long time frame. I mean, you've got the retest here. It's broke up. This was a little bit of a taunt though. Like, I mean, you kind of got the bullish breakout, retest, and then it just failed. That's the reason. Like, this is the main reason why I'm like, okay, I don't trust this, because I mean, this shouldn't have happened in a bullish market, or if ETH BTC was bullish, and now we've gotten a retest here, and that's failed as well. And we've got like a million support tests. Like, there's a bunch of stuff that I don't like about this. So yeah, there's other altcoins that look better, and I think it makes more sense to kind of focus on them because this isn't looking good. That ETH BTC breakout was a real dick tease, yeah, 100%. It wasn't really super strong to begin with, but yeah, it immediately just broke back down. And that's something that I hate. I mean, I've talked about this billion times before, but if you get something like this, breakout back into like a move down, if anything, you'd expect like the best case scenarios, you'd expect sideways. The worst case scenarios, it's just PTSD from like 17, 18, 19, just straight down. And it's been straight down, so. What about the liquidity from the US stimulus checks? I mean, that on top of whatever Powell is doing right now, I mean, it just led to a nice move in the traditional markets. And that led to a nice move in the Bitcoin markets. I mean, you can probably even, let's look at it, right? Because people are always like, okay, what are you talking about? Let's look at, I hate the new trading view compare. The old one was better. Whatever, we'll use it like this. Look at that. Now, no one can tell me this isn't correlated, right? Look at where this started. So you've had the bottom here, straight move up, and you can even go like lower time frames, right? So 1 minute candle basically started at the same time, and it just, can we go to, I don't even know if I have that. Yeah, I do. Yeah, look at that. I mean, you can even see like high, and this is 15-second chart, right? So you have like a high here, same thing. You have a high here, Bitcoin just kind of keeps on going for a little bit, but then pulls back. You have the low at the same time, the high at the same time, the low at the same time, you have the high at the same time. You have a low here. So, I mean, it's always like people are like, yeah, just look at the chart, whatever. Like, look at the Bitcoin chart and try to trade that. But it's not necessarily always the case, right? You see this and you know exactly that this move was caused by other factors. So the Bitcoin chart looking away, looking like anything really doesn't matter too much just because it's gonna follow this. And it might outperform a little or might underperform a little. But in general, you can kind of see how this played out, right? And it's just pretty obvious where the move is coming from, which isn't a bad thing, right? I'm not saying that's bearish or bullish. I'm just saying that's how it is. We are kind of trading the SPX in a way sometimes. It looks like the S&P is more volatile. It just looks because of the scale. I can show you on a different scale. This is the same percentage scale, and then you can kind of see where the volatility is. and it's definitely not in the SPX. It's clearly in Bitcoin. So the move in Bitcoin is much bigger, but it's the same move regardless. And it's been the same. I mean, we can look back in time, and I can show you something for the people that do care about this kind of stuff. Actually, let's do it this way. All right, so you have, let's turn on log, and then look at this, and you can kind of see low here, right? And then you move up, straight up, grind back up. Bitcoin kind of underperforms a little, but it's up much more than the SPX, right? But just on like a relative basis, and then still moving up, both are, and set in low, set in a high, set in low. Like, you get what I'm saying, right? The SPX in recent terms, like, this is a little bit concerning, I think, because we've had Bitcoin, like, at the SPX basically up while Bitcoin didn't follow through, but now it kind of did on this announcement. But in general, you can kind of see that we are not really trading just Bitcoin. We're trading the traditional markets on top, and Bitcoin's just more leveraged and has been outperforming, however you wanna think about it. But I mean, you can kind of see, like, the top was in here. You get a top in here, it starts rounding out, and then just started following, and then same deal. So the macro kind of environment is, they're both trading the same way. And that is not something that you should be ignoring. It's something, it shows you that Bitcoin's kind of, and I mean, it's been that way for a long time. So Bitcoin's been kind of going into the big leagues, which isn't a bad thing per se. And as long as it's outperforming, I don't really mind. But it is something to keep an eye on. And then the divergence that we've had recently, where Bitcoin went down, like, you can see this on the daily chart, right? So we've had 2 red candles here, and then these 2 green daily candles, and then you look at the SPX, and that's not been the case there. So could be because this was on the weekend, and the weekend you don't have the traditional markets trading, who knows, but yeah. I just really don't like the smaller and smaller hills on Bitcoin chart, like it's losing momentum or what. Yeah, in general, yes, I agree. Like, you see this, you set a high, and I mean, we can actually paint. You set a high, the next high is up here, and then the next high is up here, right? I get what you're saying, but then again, this thing needs to consolidate at some point. So even if it does, like, start consolidating, going sideways here, or even in a broader range in here, or even in a bigger range in here, that wouldn't be a bad thing, right? So at some point it has to consolidate. It doesn't mean it has to go here. Could do it at 100K. I mean, probably if it goes to 100K straight, it's probably going to nuke quite a bit at some point, and then consolidate. But the most bullish thing to me would be this turning into a consolidation range, this entire thing, and then for it to go like sideways for a month or 2 or 3, and then you would have some sort of base that you could push up again. And if you have a base in the 50s, 100K isn't as crazy as if you just straight up go for it, because then you know exactly that the euphoria and the leverage is going to go straight to the moon, and then you get a nasty pullback. And if this just goes sideways and then pushes up, that's a little bit of a different story. Could the lower highs be considered consolidation? I mean, there's no lower high. You have higher low. You have higher highs here. Now, momentum-wise, you could say, okay, momentum is slowing down, and that's definitely the case. So take that as you will. Some will take it bearish, some will say it's just consolidating. Some will say, I mean, if this next green daily, if like we get a daily close tomorrow like this, then it's just a tiny pullback and it's not really a high, and you're gonna set a high much higher like here, and then you have the momentum still going strong, right? So all depends on your viewpoint. Like I said, I think it's at daily resistance right now. And if it can break that, I think we're just gonna make new all-time highs again. But as long as it hasn't, I think this is the point of where you're at most at risk. So some will read Technical Roundup, others are not gonna make it. That's true. That's true. Listen to Cred. He's the old grandpa that tells you good things. Hey Don, just a general just question. Have you also been caught off guard like many of us with Bitcoin, with the Bitcoin pump from 4 to 60K and didn't get time to open a decent sized trade? Trade-wise, I would say I haven't traded this too well. I mean, I didn't lose money and I didn't lose too much Bitcoin while trading it. That said, I've just been like, the thing is, if you're in this market like I have, right, for years now, and have most of your net worth in it, even if just it goes up, right? You make a shitload of money either way, so you don't have to necessarily like leverage to the gills and just kind of go crazy, right? So I've profited from the move upwards. I wouldn't say I've done it perfectly, because I mean some have just been straight up aping it and then max leveraging it to the upside, and that's been working. I haven't done that. I've just been kind of enjoying it going up. So on the trade side front, like opening a big like position and then just riding it from 6 to 50K, no, that hasn't happened for me. From a Bitcoin standpoint, I mean, I have Bitcoin, a mega mooned. I'm more than happy with it. So yeah. I mean, I have less Bitcoin now than I did at 4K, significantly less so. But that's because I've been selling on the way up. Because I was, for the people that don't know, I was like 100% net worth in Bitcoin for basically all of this part. And then I've been slowly scaling out ever since here, basically, because I've noticed that I was way over leveraged in the crypto market, basically. But yeah, some people have been 100% net worth since down here, and that's been great for them. It's just not been me. I'm more than happy. Like, this is much more stress-free for me than it has been before, because having your entire existence be reliant on Bitcoin going up isn't really a fun feeling, and that's not the case with me anymore. Significantly less, because he keeps bailing out my trades. That's not happened to my knowledge yet, but I mean, maybe, I don't know. You have control of the business funds. I hope I haven't been bailing out your trades, bro. That would be very unfortunate. We get it, bro. You're rich. Nah, I'm not rich. I'm just saying, like, this just been a good move, and I'm happy with it, even though I could have more Bitcoin. And there's a bunch of people that have way more Bitcoin than I do. Okay. I listened to the duck once, and my YouTube feed is full of duck videos now. Good God bless the YouTube algorithm. I mean, that sounds like a win-win to me. Okay, that's that. This is gonna be really interesting to watch. Even on the lower time frames on everything, you want to be watching this. It's kind of hilarious, right? You can kind of see how this is playing. So I mean, if the traditional markets go up, you're gonna see a moon on the Bitcoin front. If they go down, you're just gonna see just fucking carnage, I think. So I mean, we're just basically trading. We're basically turned into SPX traders with more leverage. How is your BQX back doing? That's a good question. I've actually gotten it back, and I've been happily dumping, and it's not done well to poor fucking chart, dude. But yeah, I've got it back a while ago, and yeah, I'm told it's probably gonna go back up again. By my friend that is making a shitload of money with it, but I'm not gonna find out. I mean, I'm gonna keep some, but taking some off. But yeah, it's gone down against Bitcoin, and yeah, it is what it is. So it was you? Nah, I wouldn't say, I don't think it was as much. Like, I don't think it was enough to do this. I contributed, but I wasn't doing this. So, yeah. 4 closes in half an hour. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting. Hey, Don, can we look at BAT? Yeah, we can. Yeah, we can. We'll look at the majors afterwards, but BAT is one that I like. So we talked about this before. I don't know why this keeps showing up. I've removed it like 10 times, but it just keeps on showing up. Must have like trading views up somewhere else. But in general, what BAT's been doing is something that I've been talking about a lot, which is undercut the range and kind of reclaim it. And ever since it's reclaimed it, just mooned. And now it ran into resistance. So that's going to be an interesting one. I think if it kind of closes the week up there somewhere and pulls back into this support, I think it's probably going to be a good buy to take it much higher, and then reevaluate if it can reclaim this or if it can't. But I like it as a chart against Bitcoin. Against USD, it's probably just making highs. Yeah. So I mean, that doesn't really look too terrible, right? It broke out. The only thing that you don't want to see it go back below 0.7. That would be bad news. But it looks good. Looks good to me. Litecoin. We don't need to talk about this. We don't need to talk about this. It just looks pretty shitty. I expected the major wipeout a while ago. I've been talking about it basically since, I think, in here, and it really never materialized. It's just been slowly curling up. I think this is setting up really nicely, though. I mean, you can kind of see how it's accelerating now. And if we get like a massive panic day in the markets, I could see this just set a bad red candle and it just go. So I'm going to be looking at this closely. If I get a big wipeout candle, the next one that I get, I'm just going to buy some. It makes sense to me. And so yeah, looking at Litecoin very, very closely, liking where that's setting up. I see a bunch of people on Twitter just getting in already. And I mean, maybe that's the bottom, right? This could be the bottom, but I'm hoping that they get completely wrecked and that I can buy their wreckness. So that's what I'm looking for on Litecoin. The same is true for Bitcoin Cash, even though that's been pretty consistently going down. So I'm not entirely sure if that's going to be as much of a washout, but we'll see. And the same is actually true for XRP. But I'm probably not going to buy XRP this time around. But I like how Litecoin's setting up the most, and then Bitcoin Cash on the major front anyway. I'm not going to buy TRX, but it's not even looking the same. It's just kind of looking meh. And yeah, I don't like EOS either. So it's going to be Bitcoin Cash and Litecoin for me if I get it, and if I don't, I mean, whatever. And the setup that I'm looking for is basically, I have support here, it's just doing jack shit on it, and it just keeps like completely rolls over. And I'm trying to buy as low as I can to kind of take the ride up back above the support that it broke down from to take the second leg. So I'm trying to take both legs. What you can do if you're a little bit more on the defensive side of things is just take the second leg, right? So you get support broken, it rallies back, and then you get the second leg. So the first leg is usually bigger than the second one, but it's still like just getting the second leg is pretty nice in most cases. Yours nice stuck. I mean, it's just trading, right? I mean, at the end of the day, people don't realize that you're trading against everyone else in the market, and other people getting fucked over is the point of max opportunity for you. So if you're looking at Bitcoin, right, people getting liquidated on this gives you the best opportunity. And I mean, you can just look back in time and you can kind of see it. This is basically people getting liquidated, completely getting wrecked, and you got best opportunity to buy Bitcoin. And it's the same thing here. And it's the same thing anywhere, really. People getting wrecked is the way to kind of get a good, really, really good asymmetric trade going on, or even just an investment. If you're just buying during up, I mean, that works, right? But if people are getting wrecked and you think Bitcoin's still good, that's the best way to go about it, in my view. And it's been my experience. And I've traded through a couple of these three being the notable ones. I mean, this one was massive for me personally. I mean, I bought on the way down, got wrecked on the second leg down, but held through it and then just had that going for me. In this one, I bought pretty much very, very close to the bottom, but sold way too early. And in this one, I got my entries and took it very far. So, I mean, for me, it's pretty obvious like where you're going to get the best entries. Now, we haven't had that kind of wipeout in a long time. And a lot of people are arguing that it's not going to happen again. And I'm not one to argue against it. I'm just like saying if it does happen, I want to be there and I want to be ready to buy. And if it doesn't happen, I mean, that's just is how it is, right? I mean, you don't get gifts from the market like this all the time. But if you get them, you should be able to take advantage of it. Of course it will happen. Come on, silly. I mean, at some point, who knows when though? So doesn't really, like, people are like, okay, this is gonna nuke now, so I'm gonna short, so I'm gonna make so much money. But I'm like, all those people are underlyingly bullish on Bitcoin, right? So you're like, I want to buy Bitcoin very cheap, so I'm just gonna short it there. It's such a stupid way to look at it, because like if you're bullish on Bitcoin, right, you want to take the dips as buying opportunities. You don't need to speculate on it dipping. So like, let's say this dips, right, and goes completely nuts, and you're looking for an entry. This leg, like this downwards leg, if you're mega bullish on Bitcoin, you don't have to take, right? Like if you're bullish on Bitcoin, you can just take the dip that you're given. Now, that's easier said than done, right? People get greedy, whatever. But I've seen so many Bitcoin bulls just get liquidated on the way up just because they wanted a cheaper entry and then just short it. It makes no sense to me. If you're bullish on this thing, take the bullish leg of the trade. And even more so when you're like betting it all. I've seen people bet it all on a 1K or 2K retrace and then get absolutely wrecked while being bullish something. Like, why would you short something and then bet it all on like bet everything on it just because you think it should retrace a little? Makes no sense to me. So that is what it is. ETHUSD, we talked about. I think this setting up interestingly. It's kind of like a head and shoulders pattern. A shitty one. I don't like head and shoulders in general, but I mean, that's pretty obvious to see. It's going to be invalidated if we close back above here. And if we do, I mean, we're so close to resistance up here, which we've tested before, this daily resistance up here, that I think we should just go up. So this is going to be an interesting day today, because if ETH can close back above like 1872-ish, there's a good chance that it can too rally, and that would set up for a bullish Bitcoin trade, right? So I want to see how Bitcoin closes today. If it closes back above 57, 58, whatever, this resistance cluster up here, I think there's a good chance that it just keeps on squeezing up. And if it can't, then I think it's just gonna go to the next support. And the next support is in the 52 to 49 area. I don't like this too much. I like a wick into the 49 area the most, if that should happen. But it depends on the traditional markets. It depends on how strong Bitcoin wants to be. I mean, this is a pretty strong candle on the low time frames, right? So it depends on how it closes, basically. Low look at this 4-hour candle. Yeah, it's a pretty strong one. It's a pretty strong one across the board, right? Like, that's the thing, and this is where it's coming from. You get a point. Talked about it much enough, but yeah, this is just rough. The Bitcoin pair is looking rough. Litecoin, taking a beating. ADA has been kind of strong, but I mean, makes sense with the Coinbase listing. I mean, technically speaking, who knows if this is going to top out here or not. I think this is actually one where you could trade it Peter Brand style. If it closes below, it's an ugly one, closes below somewhere here, it's probably just toast. And if it's not, I mean, you wouldn't want to be shorting a strong uptrend, but it's looking a little bit rough to me anyway. Bitcoin Cash also looking rough, XRP looking rough, all of these. Link's been kind of pumping on the grayscale stuff. I don't know if you guys have seen the grayscale announcement of, yeah, there's a new grayscale thing coming that has Link in it. So, I mean, that's basically the gist of it. What is the brand style? Peter Brand, so I can explain. Where was I? ADA. So Peter Brand, like a classical chartist, whatever. So they see head and shoulders like this, right? So what they do is once it actually starts breaking below the neckline, they set their stop loss here and then start shorting, right? And then the target is like this width, basically, right? So they just say, okay, this is like whatever, 20%, we're expecting 20% down here. And then that's the target. So target down here, stop loss there, and that's the trade, right? Now, how I'll usually like to trade these is different, where I see this setup and I short here with a stop loss up here, bet on the move down, and then obviously they're usually bigger, right? And I try to get it as close, like basically like this. I try to get it as close to the high as possible, try to short the previous high, and then take it to the support down here. And that's usually where I like to take it. And then if I see, when I see it like being super weak, I hold it through. And if I see some strength, I close it. So there's a big difference there, because this is kind of just shorting the breakdown. And this is taking a short at resistance into support, because this is support, right? And what oftentimes happens, it just does this and then goes up. And never gets to target. So I like this more, but in this case, like you would have to short here with a stop loss up there. It's super far away. So it's a rough one where it might make more sense to trade it the traditional way. But yeah, some people like it one way, I like it the other, whatever, you get the point. Don, any thoughts on Filecoin? Yeah, we've written about Filecoin yesterday in the newsletter. Go check it out. It's better, like in the newsletter, it's always better than what I could tell you about it. That's the big coins. All eyes are on Bitcoin now, obviously, and the smaller coins. I mean, Dogecoin's just been boring in weekly support. This is actually interesting because it's taking a long time. I'm watching this closely. I mean, if it doesn't break down here, maybe we get a second leg up. It's something that rarely happens on Dogecoin, but I mean, it's taking too long for this to break down. So either it's going to break down like this or next week, or I think there's a good chance that it takes a second leg. So I'm very closely watching Dogecoin. I want to see how this goes. I mean, it's memeable. It has a nice resistance up here to trade into, right? So that's a pretty nice, like 40-50% move. I could see that happen if it doesn't break down this or next week. So like 2 more weeks of this, and then maybe it rallies, and I think then it should probably go down. But I'll be looking for that, see if I get a trade there. I don't want to trade Dogecoin on the short side, so not even interested. But yeah, the buying some into 150, 140 seems interesting to me. Not now, but soon. What newsletter? Cred spammed it earlier. It's if you go to technicalroundup.com, you can check it out. Don, how would you trade that Doge contingency? What does contingency mean? I should know it, but I feel like I've forgotten. But if you want to be trading this, right? Let's say this takes 2 more weeks. and then you just trade it like this. You take your stop loss somewhere in that area below 100, you take a target there, and then you have your trade. Pretty simple setup. And then you close before, right now it's even trading lower. You close if it does start closing below the support in here, because this red line is support right now, even though it's the range high previously. It's support right now, so let's say this bleeds down and then closes up here, then you lost why is this not working? Yeah, you lost like 7% instead of 20, right? That's how you can kind of avoid getting wrecked fully. You have your stop loss down there, but you get invalidated before your stop loss is hit. And that would be the case in this case. So I want to see how it acts in the next week to 2 weeks. If it can hold support, I'm probably going to take the stab at it for like the 50% gain. I think that's a pretty decent trade. And if it doesn't work out, I'm just going to get out the moment it starts closing back below support. Hope that makes sense. But this is an interesting one to watch. Whenever Dogecoin gets super boring, it's an interesting one to watch, and it's super boring right now. I hate Twitter, refuse to use it on principle. I don't like Twitter either. Don't ask me why I have a profile there, but I do not really like Twitter in general. But what would be an entry trigger for you and Doge? Just time, 2 more weeks, and I'm more than fine with just taking it at the support right now, basically. A break and recapture of the level, you can get this run that Doc is talking about. That would obviously be even better. Let's say this closes below next week and then closes back above the week after. I'm more than happy to jump in as well. But it doesn't have to do that. Like just 2 more weeks of sideways, or like 1.5 more weeks, and I'm down to just take it. So that's Dogecoin. I think it's an interesting one. We talked about Wi-Fi is really, really interesting because it looks just mega shit. I've taken people have been making ironic comments about me saying this looks like shit for the longest time, but I mean, when you're right, right? And this broke down here. It broke down here. Like, this has been really nice, and we've been following this really closely. We've seen this broke to the downside. We've seen this broke to the downside. And it's making lower highs continuously. And now it's breaking the support. And the most interesting part about it all, right? Whenever you see a pattern get broken that is holding the market up, it usually is about to get ugly, right? And in this case, you have a low set, you bounce from the low. You have a low set, you bounce from the low. Let's make it like this more obvious. And then you set a low, you undercut it, and completely go to shit, right? So, I mean, that's just weak stuff. Doesn't mean it has to go to zero, whatever. It's already down a shitload, actually. Like, it's down 85% already. But, I mean, that could make it capitulate, right? So it's down 85%. If it capitulates, that might actually be an interesting play because DeFi, I mean, this is basically was the poster child of the DeFi movement. It's not anymore, but it used to be. I mean, if you want to draw a diagonal, whatever, you can even see it. Like, that just looks garbage, right? And you can see how often it's bounced from it, and at some point it's just enough is enough, and then it retested it. Now, I think Wi-Fi can get interesting. Like, if you want to see super aggressive, if it can reclaim this, and that's not too far away, that's just like 10-15%. I think the more important level to kind of reclaim is this one. So this is the aggressive kind of level to reclaim. Let's say it closes like that, and then that's the aggressive one if you want to get positioned. This is the less aggressive one. So if it does something like this, maybe pulls back a little, I think there's a play there to at least this support, to this resistance, if not higher. But right now it looks pretty shitty. So I like when they start bleeding out, even more so the hype names, because they always have like a second pump in it. That is usually not as high as the first one. So I hope this capitulates, goes down, and then I think there's a good chance that we go somewhere in between here. And that would be a massive pump if it like capitulates fully, and then you get a pump in there like a 4x, 5x. I wouldn't mind taking that trade. Right now, I do mind. Like I wouldn't want to touch this on the bullish side. Uni took over, yeah, but I mean, that has never really mattered too much. I mean, Wi-Fi has just kind of been moving into maybe that's just the case, right? Maybe there's DeFi stuff that's actually useful and used, and then there's DeFi stuff that isn't. And I mean, Uni and Sushi have been outperforming massively, right? While the other, like the useless part of the market, looking at Litecoin and Bitcoin Cash and that kind of stuff, has been massively underperformed them. So maybe we're moving away from like just random altcoin pump and dumps and actually into like a value driven kind of thing, which makes my job harder because I'm not a fundamental analyst, but I mean, it makes the space better, so I don't mind. What the fuck is this Litecoin chart? Yeah, it's horrendous. It's horrendous. That looks so bad. Andre is part of many projects that suffer attacks. Yeah, he's a professional rug merchant, is what he is. How's the SPX and Bitcoin doing? Yeah. But that's what I mean, right? You look at the low time frames and you see a gigamoon and it rallies right into resistance. Now, I hope we actually close above it because that'd be much nicer. I don't want to see it like, let's say this daily closes right. I think that's giga bearish. It closes like this. I think it's fine. It's probably just gonna keep on running up. But yeah, I would want to see it close at least like this, if not a little bit higher, because then I would think that we're just gonna break 60K and then go to 70, 75. I think 75 is a big attractor just based on how this works. Like 20K is really important just because of the round number, and 50K, same deal, and then 100K, 75K, the ones in between. 25K was also interesting. Those kind of numbers. And I mean, you can kind of see them on the chart as well. And 75 would be the next one after 50. So I hope we reclaim. But yeah. I asked about DLT, but now I got why you don't talk about it. 40 million market cap. Yeah, I generally try to avoid this stuff that is too small. I mean, I've tweeted about DLT before, and I've traded it before, but I find it rough. Like whenever I personally, when you're buying like 0.1 or 0.2 or like 0.5 of an altcoin, and that moves it massively. I mean, when I think about tweeting about it, I just feel dirty, right? Let's say I buy this worth like I buy this over a few days with like worth of like a Bitcoin or two. I myself would pump it with 1 or 2 Bitcoin, and then I tweet it, and then like 100,000 people see it, and if just like 100 of them put 0.1 Bitcoin in it, I mean that's gonna pump it, right? So it's something that you see with the low caps a lot, and I don't want to be part of it. It's not something that I want to be doing. Chart setup wise, I mean this doesn't look too promising from the high time frames, but I mean it's been knocking at that resistance for a while. So if it can reclaim it, it's not looking too bad. I mean it's the range, right? You can kind of see the range, and if it can defeat the lower boundary, it can easily go to the upper one, and that's ×2 away. So do with that what you must. But in general, like with these low caps that are barely liquid, it's a little bit troublesome. So that's just an interesting fact about these. When you see like a million market cap, like the worst thing is when you see big accounts and they shill something that's just going like this, and then you check how big it is, and it's a million market cap, and then they shill it and it goes like this, and they're like, okay, it mega moon just now off of my signal or whatever, and all of that, or like a large part of it, is just the people that read the tweet or see the YouTube video or whatever, and then I mean, yeah, it went up, and yeah, everyone that got in early made a bunch of money, and the guy that tweeted about it looks like a genius, but really, I mean, it hasn't anything to do with them, right? And this kind of part is most of the time just them accumulating, and not big fan of that kind of stuff. You don't need it, right? This is bull market. Everyone is making money. You don't need shady shit to make money or to make more money, in my opinion. It's enough to kind of just take advantage of the market without having to take advantage of your reach on Twitter or YouTube or whatever. Come on, guys, smash the like for Don. Let's make a huge number of likes. Best TA. That reads like I would have written it if I wanted to promote myself in a way that it doesn't look like myself. But no, I appreciate the comment, man. Appreciate it. So yeah, Leo, I mean, I'm struggling with, man. I'm still stuck in this shit, and it's been eating me. It's tough to look at this. It's just you see this and you're like, oh, Don is in this, he's making a bunch of money, right? But I mean, this has been, yeah. I mean, it looks like it's up a shitload, but it's really not. Like it's up 20%, and it's been struggling to do that. And yeah, I've been wanting to sell this like a bunch of times. The only reason why I still hold it is because Lumdar's been reconfirming my belief that it should be going up. But I mean, yeah, I mean, I'm up in on that position for the people that do care, but it's Leo. It just doesn't really move. And Bitcoin, like when Bitcoin goes bullish, moves much more, and then Leo underperforms. So this is more of a slow but steady kind of gain that you're gonna get if you're just a little bit more patient than others. So that's the Leo position. We are loved on. What does that even mean? But still appreciate it. People need to check historical charts ranking on CMC. They have first alarm. Yeah, I mean, you gotta do some research in whatever you ape into. But yeah, okay. We talked about a bunch of altcoins. If I ask for tickers, people are just gonna spam me again. And if I talk about the stuff that I've talked about in the past, people are just gonna say I'm boring because I talk about the same stuff all day. Something that I've been watching is DNT. Sadly, I missed that one. I've talked about DNT a bunch. It's actually an ICO that I did back in 2017 and made a bunch of money on. And it's been really clean to trade. And the reason why it's been like that is because, as far as I know, and that might be completely wrong, but as far as I know, the DNT team dumped most, if not all, of their tokens in the bear market. So you have like no sell pressure on that front. So you can kind of do whatever you want to if you're a big holder. And that's, I think, what's been happening. So this is one that I just like to watch and like to trade, but I missed it. So this is a little bit difficult. And if it retraces a little, I might get into it, but it's super illiquid as well. So I'm not going to tweet about it, not going to do anything. Like, might not even YouTube it, but this is a fun one to watch. And if you can find this kind of stuff, it's the same thing with BQX, really. BQX team dumped all their tokens on the way down, and then they pretty much set the bottom. Someone accumulated it, and then it's just shot to the moon. And I like to look at those coins. I mean, the whales know it when the team doesn't have any more coins to sell, so they can do whatever they want with it. And it's been historically, as long as the coin has anything to speak for itself, they don't do too poorly in comparison to other stuff. I wish I had a friend like Loomdot. Loomdot's everyone's friend, man. Loomdot's just great. He actually just sent me like 600 or whatever dollars in a token because I didn't have any left to transact something. and I would have had to buy some more. And he was like, bro, I got you. So Loomdot's the GOAT, without even having to ask him about it. Loomdot followed me on Twitter. He's crazy. I fucking love Loomdot. He's one of the best persons in the space, hands down. Did you hear Lex Friedman podcast interview with Algo founder? No, not really. I don't really care about the coins themselves. Like, you could ask me about all of these coins fundamentals. I don't really care. Like, really, realistically speaking, I care about Bitcoin. I care about ETH, and that's as far as I go. Dogecoin on top, but that's like I care about 2 or 3 coins. I don't really care about the rest. And then anything that I see as a bullish narrative, I like to play. Anything I see as a bearish narrative, I like to play. But I mean, there's so many of these, I don't really care. Like, whatever, fun could be the next big thing. I don't care. If it goes up, I mean, nice, right? But I'm not the guy that's gonna pick the next Bitcoin or the next Ethereum or the next whatever. It's just not me. I like to trade these, and if I get a bullish narrative and I get a bullish trade, I'm more than happy to take it. But it's always with like a time horizon, right? I'm always gonna sell it again at some point. Not looking to get into any of these as like to store value or to like as an investment, because I mean, for me, it's pretty much impossible to guess which one is gonna come out on top. Were you in the picture he tweeted with Path? No. Loomdot and I became friends basically in end of 2018, I think, 2019, and that picture is much, much older. Okay, I think we've talked about that enough. Someone asked about Zcash. It's actually putting in a little bit of a floor, believe it or not. So that's an interesting one. I don't like Zcash. It always fucks with me if I remember having a bunch of Zcash in the bull market of 17, and let's actually look at it. I can show you guys my suffering. So Poloniex works. So I was like, there's gonna be a big altcoin movement to the upside, so I'm gonna buy some Zcash, right? So bought some Zcash in here somewhere, I think. And then it pumped, and you're like, oh, you made some money, nice, right? It pumped like 80%, and then it just giga dumped. But I held this, right, like in September, going into end of September. I think it was this, might have been in here as well, one of the two. It's been a long time ago. But either way, like it pumped like 60-70% ish, right? The reason why I was so angry might have actually been this one. The reason why I've been so angry about it back then is, if you look back on that, like I think it was this one actually, is that in that time frame you've had other coins. Let's actually open one up that is a little bit older. In that time frame, you've had other altcoins just go completely. BAT is a slow one as well. There were like other ones like Verge and shit, just giga moon, and I was just sitting in Zcash taking a tiny win, right? So you saw what Zcash did, like 70% or whatever. This is what Verge did in the same time. So you're sitting in that shit coin, just make a little bit, and then you see your friend that bought Verge because whatever, do like that. Just fucking. Every time I've bought Zcash, it's happened to me. So not biggest. Obviously wasn't all in. I mean, if I was, that would have sucked. But I had way too much in it, and I just missed out on a bunch of other stuff. But yeah, it's setting in like a little bit of a floor. If it breaks that, I think it's just going to utter shit. But I could see it do the good old head and shoulders and then break down. I don't think Zcash gonna do well. Gonna change my tune if it makes a new high. Interesting 4-hourly close on Bitcoin. Let's look at it. Oh yeah, it actually is exactly at the 4-hour boundary. Like there's a bunch of time frames. Like look at this. This is the daily. I think that's the daily. Yeah, that's the daily. This is the more recent daily, right? And then you look at the 4-hour, and that's the same. Like you have a bunch of time frames being confluent as resistance here. It closed at the boundary of all of them, basically. So not conclusive, but I mean, it's a pretty strong candle. So that's a rough one, though. I could see it pump, I could see it dump. And that's like, whenever you have that situation, I mean, not taking a trade is fine as well, right? If you go in at the lows, anticipating the Powell speech, I mean, you did well. I don't really see a good reason to close. I would see a good reason to close if it lost this. Like, that's, like, this is big support. If it loses this, I think there's a breakdown short to be had. And if it retests this, I think there might be a long to be had. So if retests this, I could see it go up, right? If you want to play that way, as long as the daily closes well. And if the daily closes poorly and it breaks down here, I think if you get any short in this box, you can take it. So those are like the two trades that I can see right now. And yeah, the daily would support the breakdown one. The daily chart, the weekly chart would support the breakup thing. Like whenever you have that and you don't have confluence between the time frames, I mean, don't have to necessarily bother with it. You can just chill. Still not that bad, I guess. Yeah, I don't mind it. I don't mind the close. It's inconclusive is what I'd say, but it's a good start. And you want to see the daily close above too. Silver and gold good too. Yeah, everything mooned. Everything mooned. But yeah, Link's interesting in the sense that it's pumped. We talked about this. It's really funny. Like on the stream, we were like, if this pumps, I could see it. Like I said that. Like I could see it double and pump up to the resistance, and it'd still be a bearish retest, and that's exactly what it did. Now this is going to be an interesting weekly close. If we close this week below the red line, I think it just completely collapses. And that would be in line with my view for Litecoin and Bitcoin Cash. Now, if it can decorrelate because of the grayscale news or in general anything else, I mean, that'd be great. But it has to close this weekly above 0.0005. And if it cannot do that, I think we're in to make some pretty bad moves. Like, I think at that point, you don't really have much support left on the downside, because as nice as this looks on the way up, there's no base to look at. Like, I mean, you could argue like there's support here, but shitty. So you want to see a close above red, and then you can kind of, if you want to be aggressive, play it with like either stop loss here or here into the resistance again. Or if you want to be passive, you could actually just wait for the resistance to get broken and then take it higher. So, I mean, Link's rough. Link's very difficult to trade right now, I think. I mean, it's been a nice short, right? But no one is really looking to short stuff. So I don't think many took this short off of the bearish retest. Hands up if you did. I don't think anyone did. Or we can do like a 1-2 thing. Do like a 1 if you shorted this and a 2 if you didn't. I don't think anyone did. Even though we've talked about it on stream, about the bearish retest stuff. It's just, most people just don't. Call Loom for Friday, he's cute. We're gonna actually have Eric Wall on Friday. So that's already been decided. Hope you guys are gonna enjoy that one. Yeah, most people just didn't. So there you go. But yeah, I think we're gonna call it a day here. Like I said, look at Bitcoin, see what it does, see if it kind of starts outperforming the traditional markets. See if it can close back above the daily resistance that it broke below just 2 days ago. If it can, I think that's a good way this goes up and just challenges the all-time high again. If it cannot, I think there's going to be a deeper pullback. So, I mean, it's as simple as that. And I think simple is best in this kind of market. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the stream. Big shout out to Blockfolio for sponsoring the show. Their links are in the description if you want to check them out. It's actually really nice and easy to use their stuff. So I can only recommend if you're looking for kind of spot stuff and a nice app to go along with it. So yeah, appreciate you coming by. Appreciate, like I said, Blockfolio for sponsoring the show, and we'll see each other on Friday. I'm gonna be on the episode on Friday, but it's gonna be pre-recorded because I'm actually meeting up with family. So we'll talk again on Wednesday next week, and I'll be on Twitter, so don't worry about it. See you guys. Bye bye.